Difficult does not mean bad. None of the games I plan on discussing are considered bad. It just means they may not be easy to play. Ahoy there, and welcome to Too Hard For You, where we break down games in the racing genre that can be considered among the most difficult to play. Difficulty cannot be attributed to the following. They cannot be difficult due to bugs and glitches, like with Need for Speed Undercover. They cannot be related to the control scheme, like with Midway Arcade Treasures 3. And they cannot be influenced by real-world money, like with Asphalt Legends. On this episode, we're looking at one of the greatest arcade-style racing games ever made, Burnout 3 Takedown. With the Burnout series up to this point establishing itself as an arcade racing wannabe with detailed crash physics as its ethos, Criterion knew they were onto something with the series and their renderware game engine. After a rocky start to their business partnership with EA, Criterion felt they had something to prove with the third game in the Burnout franchise. They must have done something right, as EA bought Criterion anticipating the third game's success. And a success it was. Burnout 3 Takedown released in late 2004, one of the most stacked years in video games, where it received widespread critical acclaim and high sales. It was a fantastic game in a year full of fantastic games. But is Burnout 3 actually one of the most difficult racing games of its generation? Not really. At least not at first. The driving physics are arcade to a T, where braking is used to drift through corners like a Ridge Racer game. The handling is much more refined and responsive than Burnout 2 Point of Impact. It's much easier to anticipate a car going into a natural drift when turning. This is also affected by the type of car you're driving. Supercars have much higher grip and practically require braking to drift, while muscle cars have a much easier time getting the rear wheels loose. Quick side note, and this is more of a me problem. Even though the rules say I can't complain about controls, I can't play either version of this game for more than an hour at a time, even if I really wanted to. If I play the PS2 version, where you use the face buttons or the right analog stick for acceleration, my thumb gets sore. And if I play the Xbox version, where you use the triggers for acceleration, my trigger finger gets sore. Guess you could call that white-knuckle racing. Anyways, cars in the game carry two stats that would make certain Tekken characters feel happy: speed and weight. The weight factor indicates how heavy or light a car will feel, as well as the likelihood of it getting into a crash. This one sports car that looks like a Mazda RX-7, for example, is nimble and has great handling, but it feels like it's made out of cardboard when colliding with walls or traffic. Other than some minute differences in handling, most cars control exactly the same in their respective classes. Good for the sake of consistency and accessibility. Just don't blink. Crashing in the Burnout series isn't a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And when shit hits the fan, it turns into a Hollywood spectacle. Metal crunches, doors and hoods fly off, wheels come loose, and nearby traffic suffers from sudden brake failure. It's fun to admire the carnage when you're not focused on winning. But if you are focused on winning, there's Aftertouch, which allows you to toggle bullet time and steer your wreck to take any poor sap with you. Hey, this was the mid-2000s after all. You can thank the Wachowskis for that. Burnout 3's handling is responsive, predictable, and doesn't give two damns about reality. What do you have to say about that, Gran Turismo? Tracks in Burnout 3 continue from the theme of using one map chopped up into individual circuits. Only this time there are three environments: USA, Europe, and the Far East. The USA blends rural mountain towns with the coastlines of Miami and the concrete jungles of New York and Chicago. Europe is a mashup of Italy, France, and Switzerland. The Far East is inspired by Thailand, Malaysia, and Singapore, complete with tuk-tuks. The biggest issue with using one map environment is that they start to look the same after a while. This is an issue that plagued Burnout and its sister series Need for Speed in this era. There are only a few track layouts per continent, consisting of smaller closed circuits, larger circuits, and one long point-to-point race. Or two of them. They often share pieces of track with each other, which can make things feel repetitive. In spite of this repetitive design choice, each track is tailored around the driving physics. Plenty of long stretches of road for boosting, the occasional 90-degree bend or switchbacks for drifting, and 1 or 2 hills for jumping. These are fast tracks for fast driving. It's not all wide open roads, however, as there are several obstacles like medians and roundabouts to avoid. Hitting these can result in certain death for you and your opponents and bring you to a dead stop. The tracks also prevent you from wall riding all the time, as there are a few spots of map geometry that will stop you in your tracks for trying to be cheesy. There's a bit of everything in Burnout 3's track roster. Variety may not be its strong suit, but none of the maps overstay their welcome. They also give you ample opportunities for signature takedowns. In Burnout 3, the game wants you to fight for every win. Because of the series' arcade inspirations, AI rubber banding is always present. It's close to Need for Speed levels of catch-up. In the past couple of games, there was hardly a damn thing you could do to keep the CPU at bay. But this time around, you can fight back. The clue is in the game's title. If one of your rivals is in your way, which they always are, you can slam into them to try and crash them out. Getting a takedown not only rewards you with a satisfying cutaway to the rival you just wrecked, but adds more boost to your boost gauge, up to 4 times boost. Conversely, if you crash, you lose a chunk of your boost meter. The AI is not defenseless with the addition of the takedown. They can be aggressive too. They'll try to nudge you into areas of high traffic or obstacles. And if you take down one of your opponents, they'll be even more aggressive, as indicated by the position indicator turning red. When they're red, they're out for blood. Like I previously mentioned, when things go foobar and you do wreck, you can use Aftertouch to steer your wreck and try to take any unsuspecting rivals down with you. An Aftertouch takedown lets you retain that bit of boost you were about to lose as a result of crashing, or gain more if you can chain together takedowns. Crashing is still not ideal in races due to rubber banding, but being able to and encouraged to take down rivals allows you to stay in the fight. From a casual standpoint, Burnout 3 Takedown is not that hard. However, the game's difficulty does gradually increase as cars get faster. In World Tour, you start with compact cars and work your way up to muscle, coupe, sports, and super classes. You don't earn any money from races, rather you earn medals for how well you do. Depending on if you get bronze, silver, or gold, you'll unlock new cars to drive. In World Tour, there are 7 game modes. In standard races, picking the right car can make all the difference. Like I said before, different cars have slightly different stats that affect their handling, top speed, and likelihood to crash. As you move up to faster cars, it becomes harder to react to traffic, meaning you're more likely to crash. Traffic placement is partially fixed whenever you restart a race, meaning you'll see similar patterns and learn how to react to them, and when to take out your enemies. With championships, you don't have to win all races to win a championship, and thankfully you can restart an individual race in a series instead of starting all over, though you can do that too. One odd quirk I noticed, and that might be a bug in the game, is that you can occasionally develop a lead that other rivals will never be able to recover from. Even with the rubber banding, this bug works in your favor. I wonder if the other drivers get stuck in a map chunk that was unloaded. This sadly doesn't apply to the face-off, which kinda breaks the rules of the game itself. Since you only have one opponent to deal with, you don't get a lot of chances to take them down and earn boost. Because of rubber banding, even if you do gain a sizable lead, he'll always be right on your tail. And if he does take you down, you might as well start over. Burning laps and special events are straightforward. It's a 1-lap time trial. However, your boost gauge is at the maximum multiplier, boost builds much faster, and you can't lose any chunk of the bar if you crash. However, you should avoid crashing as much as possible and boost as often as possible to get a good time. Knockout is one long race where the driver in the back of the pack is eliminated at the end of each lap. These races kinda drag on since there's 5 opponents on a grid. Road Rage is one of the best game modes ever created for a racing game, where it puts the takedown mechanic to great use. Take down as many opponents as possible in the time limit or before your car is totaled. It's a great way to let go of any pent-up frustration and is insanely addicting. Crash is, in all essence, a physics puzzle crossed with bowling, if the pins were constantly moving and the lane was littered with landmines. Strategy is needed to determine where to crash your car for maximum damage. Power-ups are scattered across the crash junctions, ranging from cash pickups, score multipliers, an instant explosion, or crash breaker, or the dreaded heartbreaker, which cuts your score in half. You won't be able to get all power-ups in most junctions if you're going for gold, but you can use Aftertouch to grab power-ups when you wreck. Then there's the Crash Breaker, which is an explosion that you can trigger after a certain number of cars crash. Who doesn't love watching things go boom? Unlike in Point of Impact, Crash is integrated into the World Tour. Racking up Crash dollars unlocks more toys to play with in Crash mode in single events. I wonder if this is what kids imagine happens when smacking toy cars around. If you're going in casually, Burnout 3 isn't super difficult. The real difficulty comes from trying to get all gold medals in World Tour. This mainly comes from the events without opponents. If you're going for gold times on burning laps, good freaking luck. You can't afford to crash in these events. You could get away with a minimum of 1 wreck if you're on the hunt for gold, but even then, that won't do in later burning laps. Those events with the US Circuit Racer will get permanently embedded in your cranium because 1, the roar of the engines, and 2, they're so freaking fast! If you crash once in those events, you might as well restart it. But don't forget that traffic placement is semi-permanent each time you restart. Just keep on the boost and don't crash. In all seriousness, this is one of the fastest racing games you could ever play. It comes close to the insane speeds of F-Zero GX. Yeah, we'll get to that game some other time. The last portion of the game is also fairly tough because you're driving the fastest cars that can crash easily because of low weight combined with high speeds. Don't blink. That tuk-tuk in the market might be the last thing you see. Burnout 3 Takedown is not only a drastic improvement building on Point of Impact, it's also one of the best racing games of the generation, if not all time. But it's not a game I'd necessarily classify as one of the hardest in the genre. It's very easy to pick up, and whatever challenge the main game presents can serve as a stress reliever thanks to road rage, crash, and the takedown mechanic. Really, the main challenge of the game is fighting the rubber banding and trying to complete the game and get all gold medals. Then the game's difficulty spikes and you'll end up retrying races more than once. But if you do get all golds, you'll feel oh so satisfied. So, that's why I've ranked Burnout 3 in the "a challenge is there" tier, because if you're looking for a challenge, you can find it. If you're not looking for a challenge, the game is only of moderate difficulty. Even then, the best time to play Burnout 3 is all the time. At the cost of your fingers. Seriously, chamfered triggers and tight button groupings should have been outlawed in this generation. Do you agree or disagree with my thoughts on Burnout 3? And are you a member of the All Gold Medals Club? Sound off in the comments. Now it's time to figure out where the F-ups and moments in grace went. And not where DJ Striker went. This has been Squiddy the Kid signing off. Like, comment, subscribe, and happy holidays.